Thanks everyone for joining us on this next edition of the Channel Maven podcast. My name is Akila Morel, and I'm the Senior Director of Channel Marketing here at Channel Maven. And I have with me today the one and only Jasmina Mueller. She is the VP of Global Channel Partnerships at Everbridge, and we're so glad that she's here today. It's interesting, Jasmina, how our relationship kind of formed, because when I was on my way out from CenturyLink, you were just joining the channel org. And ever since you had joined the channel org, I still stayed in touch with a lot of my friends, and everyone talked about you and sang your praises. And I'm like, I've never met her before. That's so weird, because we were there around the same time. But since then, I've been stalking you on LinkedIn. Your content is amazing. Your content's amazing.
Funny.
And I love your approach, honestly, like how you are all about just bringing other women along with you, how you mentor other women. I know we're both part of ACW, and I've really just seen you shine, and that's your forte. And I'm so honored that you're here today. Why don't you tell the audience a little bit about yourself?
You know what? You are just amazing. I mean, when I hear you, and first of all, thank you for having me. I've been watching you guys for quite some time. And I met your husband, literally, the funny thing was, what was it, a few months ago at one of the partner events, and he comes up to me and he's like, "You're Jasmina." And I'm like, "Oh my God, who is this?" And when he said, "You know what, my wife is Akila," I'm like, "Oh my God, I love her." So honestly, this is great. I love the fact that, I'm doing this with you, of all people. You are amazing, honestly, to see all the different things that you have online as well. And then you just nailed it. It is definitely about us women sticking together as sisters and literally doing the best we can to help each other personally, professionally, whatever it is. I think it's just amazing to see how much has changed.
Yes, absolutely. Thank you so much for that. And so at Everbridge, it's such an amazing company, right? It's not just about the solutions you provide. It's also the touchy-feely. It's right at the heart. You're right there at critical moments. Yep. Anything you want to share real quick about Everbridge and your role there specifically?
Yeah, I came over and you just nailed it again. It was not a job to me. I didn't see that as a job. It felt like more of a mission in keeping people safe and businesses running. I mean, it was probably the best of the best. And I'm excited knowing that we are able to go out there and help partners with their clients around the world. So I'm looking forward to 2021 and seeing what we can do together. So it's going to be fun.
Absolutely. And, as women, we're good at this. We're good at sharing stories. That's why I'm so excited about this podcast, because it's such a natural, and, together, especially women in tech, we kind of just group together and share stories. So I want to dive right in if you don't mind, but I wanted to ask you if you recall a time in your career when things weren't looking so good, like you had a plan, but it wasn't going to plan. What did you do, and what kind of advice can you give us as women when your plan falls apart?
So if a plan always goes the way you think it's going to, you're not doing something right, because no plan goes the way it's supposed to. Honestly, I do recall a time when I thought, oh my God, the job, not this current job, but a job that I was in, there was no growth. There was no, career path. And I kept putting it down to the point where I was like, there's just nothing there. I'm just going to do what I'm doing and sit around and what have you. But I think what really got me thinking about it is, you know what, the last thing we should do is give up. So don't give up. Just because you think when, one door closes, you got to look at it, another one's going to open up. It always does. You're never going to be sticking down one path. It's always going to change. And I think what I did was I just said, you know what, I'm not going to be hard on myself. And I'm going to think, what can I do to not change, but to show my other qualities that others may not know. And it was more of a, what do I need to do? What do I need to do to show those capabilities? What's different amongst me with others around me? And I know as women, I mean, honestly, we always tend to hold back what we're good at. I don't know why. And then what's someone going to think of me? Or are they going to judge me? Are they going to assume that we can't do it? And so your mind always kind of sits there and goes, no, I can't. But in reality, literally, we need to share what we've done, what we can do, and what our vision is. I keep telling people, don't hold back, be strong, be confident. That's where you're going to stand above the rest, honestly.
That's great. So starting with confidence, right? So maybe silencing those, can I do this? And the checklist that we were good at checklists. It's like if we don't have all those boxes checked, oh, we can't do it. So
Yeah,
I love that. Like start with confidence for sure.
exactly.
Now, yeah, absolutely. So did you, speaking of your career path, did you intentionally seek out a career in tech? Like did you always know you wanted to do this? And then the other question that always comes up when we talk about opportunities, even during the interview process or even during evaluation, when it's time to review your performance and things like that, where do you see yourself in 5 years? I feel like that's the $1 million question. So it's kind of two questions in one, but how did you approach that?
It's going to be funny when you hear the answer. I actually started nothing in this industry, telecom, SaaS, you name it. I actually started in the fashion merchandising industry.
Oh, wow.
I attended the Fashion Institute here in the Los Angeles area for about a year, straight out of college, and realized that I thought my dream of being a fashion designer was what I really wanted. And I think every girl at some point in their time think, oh, I'm going to go ahead and, make this dress, or I'm going to, because you start taking some of your clothes and you start reusing them and thinking, yeah, I'm going to be a fashion designer.
Right.
And I realized, I'm like, no, I don't want it. Of course, I made my parents waste that 1 year of college, but in any case, I applied for a sales job with a really small telco company, and they dealt with hotel communications. It was, I don't know if anybody's aware of it, but it was like 0 plus 0 minus, where if you made a certain call from the hotel will get a commission. Within the first 3 months of that job, I was their top sales rep. So I was like, maybe sales is where I should be.
Right.
So I was literally the type of person where everybody assumed I just wanted to have fun and that my days just kind of came and go as I pleased, as if like I wasn't even serious enough. And so no one really saw the other side of me, which was more of serious. I had fun doing my job. And I personally think, regardless of what I got into, and I finally got into the tech world, I made sure that my job was fun because that made me feel like I can grow personally and professionally. And the moment I felt like I was working, I knew I wasn't happy. And my motto is you need to love what you do because the rest will just come naturally.
Yeah.
So professionally, I think I see myself to, continue to grow in my career. And the only way I see that happening is to continue learning and listening by all the different leaders and mentors that have helped me get to where I'm at. And that that professional standpoint has also helped me from a personal standpoint. I mean, honestly, personally, I really want my kids to grow, and I want to see, what they make of themselves. They're literally that next generation of what
Right.
we've brought to date, and we have to make sure that they also have a future. And so I think personally and professionally, that's basically where I see myself.
Right.
Is helping.
Yeah.
So, and of course, growing, like I said, within my career. So,
No, that's awesome. It's amazing how children can really motivate you to push forward and set it up, for them. Especially, I think we talked a little bit before how we have daughters. Man, they're watching us like a hawk. And so I found myself doing the same thing, especially kind of going back to your first point about confidence. I'm like, I better show that I need to get my stuff together because I want to set it up for my daughter as well, where she just doesn't even have to battle some of the things that we have as women mentally and emotionally. So it's a good motivator. And I love what you talked about, your passion. Do what you love because then it's not a job, right?
exactly.
And it's a win-win. You're happy, your employer's happy, and your customers, your clients, everyone around you can feel the passion. And so what a great point. So, along your path, your journey, you said, sometimes your plans kind of fell apart and, you kind of made it along the journey. What about, I've always heard this quote, behind every successful woman, because you are a successful woman in tech and doing great things. And behind every successful woman is a tribe of other women who are just cheering her on. And do you feel like that's something that you have? And then my follow-up question to that is, what if though maybe you're just starting out in your career, because we've all started somewhere, we all have to begin somewhere. What if you don't have that tribe? What if that's not necessarily your environment? Maybe you're the first generation graduate, like how do you speak to women who need that extra push and that encouragement from others?
Honestly, some people are going to say, wow, the way I answer this. I really don't believe that women do not have a tribe or a successful circle of friends. Think about it. As young teenagers, girls, ladies, women, whatever, you have a group of girlfriends that at that age, you don't see them as successful. You just see them as friends. But there's a little piece of everybody that's around you, man or woman. There's something that you take from them. And I honestly believe it starts with your family. And then, like you just said, these young ladies that go to school to go ahead and further their career, or even just start in their career, they're like, okay, I need to do this. And whatever it is that they need to do, they want to make sure that they're around the successes of anybody they have. A lot of them take a look at their professors, whether, again, male or female. So I think, nobody would be the person they are today if it wasn't for the family to begin with. Like my parents, they taught me first and foremost, don't act like anyone but yourself. Be you, because there's no one else like you in the entire world. Now, even though I say that, I did meet my match a few years ago, and I'm going to share that story shortly. But I truly believe as you grow within your career, you may already be surrounded by those professional, successful women or men, like I said, who you start to learn from early in your career. And I literally have a couple of those, one of which was on one of your interviews, John Delosier. So that man, by far, one of my best mentors. But overall, I think everyone is surrounded by so many professionals that you think, first of all, and I remember this as being a young lady, is I want to be just like them. And then you start to emulate what they do and try to be them. But when you do that, you're literally taking away what your own strengths are, and you don't find yourself doing what you want. And a lot of times these young ladies really don't grow and just follow the leader. Now, don't get me wrong, you can learn a lot from these people, but you also have to grow within your career to make sure that you get to that point of what you're looking to do. Right. So you're always going to meet so many people. And as you build that circle, you're going to slowly realize who are the ones that you look up to help you grow and become stronger. And that one key attribute, which is to build off of that. So, yes, I think, and like I was getting back to meeting my match, Kathy Mazza, that woman is amazing. We worked together back at a telco company, and her work ethic, I've never had anybody do it. And I'll give you an example. I was one where if a customer would email me, I would immediately respond, at least just to acknowledge. Or if there was something that was needed, I would still go ahead and acknowledge and get to it. And I remember her and I were working together for the first time as a team, and her and I both got the email, and I was getting ready to respond because in my eyes, nobody ever worked as fast as I could. Right. Within seconds, all of a sudden I see her email and I'm like, okay, well, she got to it first. But then it kept going. And I'm like, I love this woman. She was consistent. She was so on top of it that I'm like, I've met my match. And to this day, her and I have become really good friends. So she's amazing. She's just always on it. So
that's awesome. That's awesome. Yeah. I love how we talked about like the women, the tribe, but it's also men as well. There are men in our lives as well that really help us along the way, who are cheering us on and maybe giving us our next opportunity. So I want to point that out. It's not necessarily just women.
Exactly.
And then what you said too, you find someone that you can emulate. I love that, because then you can then take what they're doing and then make it even better, or at least you have something to go off of those, someone to, follow after, right? And then make it your own. So that's great.
There you go. Yeah, exactly.
Yeah. And the other point that I really, really, really loved is the fact that, be you, because there's a quote out there that says, I think, be you, because that's your secret weapon, your secret power. Right. No one else is like you, right? Just like a fingerprint. There is no other fingerprint that's duplicate. And so that's us. Yeah. As women, and we have to think that way, I think, even in the workplace, right? What I'm about to bring to this meeting, what I'm about to bring to this table, it's unique and my voice matters, right? So I love that perspective. I can go on and on.
It's like another
So,
coffee conversation.
I know, right? Oh my goodness. So like we talked about a little bit at the beginning of the call, your passion to help other women. I feel like it comes naturally. And I'm surrounded by that as well at Channel Maven. Heather Margolis,
Oh yeah.
Jen Reed, Marilyn Rogers, all these amazing women that I work with. It's the same mentality. It's like, how can I help you be better? And I
Yeah.
love that. And I've seen you do that. But it hasn't always been this way. I feel like as women in tech and corporate, there was a time when, look, let's be real, right? It was all about, I'm climbing this ladder and I'll claw at you if I have to, just to
Yeah.
succeed. And I feel like there's this shift, and you're one of the women leading the way. Like, why do you think this shift occurred, and why is it so important that we're here now?
It's funny you say that, because I think it's been a work in progress with all of us in helping other women. When you start to grow in your career, you start to realize what it took to get where you are. Perfect example, I have a 15-year-old daughter. And when she was in middle school, those were probably her toughest years because she was bullied. She's such a kind young lady that she just didn't know how to be mean. She literally lifted up her friends any chance she got. And her teachers even said to me she was probably the most mature young girl that they ever had, because she doesn't deal with drama or have those pre-tween type conversations. Did you see what that girl was wearing, or did you see how, whatever the case may be. But she was always that type that would be a positive role model. And then as she grew up and now in high school, she's now seen as the leader in her group. Wow. And that role model for young girls. And I think personally, I really think it starts with this generation of how we are today. And I say that because if our teenage girls can do this bullying and what have you amongst middle school and high school, I seriously think as a mom, we're following their footsteps into the next world, of literally helping other women. I literally think the shift occurred because of seeing how our girls have grown to have that courage and strength, that we've taken that same approach into our professional world. And like I said, one of my posts, you'd be surprised what you can learn from the younger generation, especially teenage girls. So I personally think it's a lot to do with these teenage girls now, that we as women are following through them. If they can do it, why not help our own women?
Wow, that's powerful. So true. I want that to sink in, because it's important. That is so important. Wow, there's a lot I want to say around that, but I'll leave it as is, because that was just, I don't want to add anything to it. That was great. So what about just shifting a little bit? We've talked about confidence, and we've talked about, that circle of influence. And a lot of times we do need that, but I want to go like deep internal now, right? And so I know you've taken your own advice because I can see that. But can you share with us a time in your career where you had to shift your mindset, and that the confidence you have to convince yourself that you can really do it, and that you can really have it all? I think you even wrote a blog about that, and that was really powerful. How did you do that? Because it does start with us. I think that's really important with you individually.
Yep. Honestly, I think I've learned so much for so many inspirational leaders over the course of my career. And I think the number one thing I'll always, always take with me is don't ever give up. Be true to yourself. Know that you're going to fail multiple times. And you need to realize that, because in order to succeed, you're going to need to fail. And I think there were two moments in my career that really made me realize I can do this and not doubt my capabilities. The first, as I had mentioned, John Delosier, was when I started with the channel about 5 years ago. And him approaching me to, he was looking for a West leader at the time because of the different changes that had occurred. And I remember him approaching me and he came up to me and said, "I've heard about you. I'd like for you to lead my West Coast channel team." And it was just like a shock. And when I looked at him, I looked behind me and I'm all, is this like a joke? In my head, and I still laugh to this day, why I would say this to senior vice president of channel. I'm like, I can't do that. I said, I've never done that. And he's like, I highly doubt that. And
wow,
it went from there in a conversation, and it gives me just chills every time I think of this story, because the positivity, the feedback, the insight that he gave me, and the courage and the confidence, it was like, I think, you know what it is? It's when you hear the title, you like kind of freeze, like, oh my God,
Right.
an area vice president. Holy, no, I can't. But you don't realize that your career gets you to learn more and more every time.
Yeah.
That you've got to take that mindset and not feel comfortable where you're at. Because if you're comfortable, you're never going to grow. You got to know that you're always going to learn each time you get a new position. And if that promotion doesn't tell you otherwise, then yeah, you have to build that confidence. But I think that's where it finally hit me. And then the second was with Teresa Carrigal with Achieve Unite in 2019. I think it was about 3 or 4 years ago. And in attending one of her leadership workshops, it created even that much more of a confidence boost. Learning at a leadership level how to, be at that seat at the table and providing the comments that you may need to go ahead and show your capabilities. Those two experiences literally made me realize, you know what? If I can do this, I can do anything. I mean, come on. And that's the attitude I think a lot of us women need to put into play and not think you can't do it.
Right. I love that. And it truly is a mindset, right? Yeah. You're convincing your own self, like, I can do this. Yeah. It's a funny story. My daughter always likes to say, Mom, you fail. And I'm thinking, like, what are you talking about? She's like, it's okay. It's good. First attempt in learning. And so she's not afraid to fail. And you were talking about how our daughters, like, it's so funny how you can learn a lot from just our children and our sons as well. Yeah. And that's her approach. And so we can't be afraid to fail because it is our first attempt in learning, meaning we're going to get better. Maybe we didn't knock it out the park this time, but we will next time.
Exactly.
So
you learn from your mistakes. You learn from mistakes.
Absolutely. Absolutely. So question, like, as we're talking about women in tech and we're talking about our journeys, I feel like it's a big deal. I love where I'm at. I love that I am a woman in tech. And what do you think, how should we leverage this opportunity? I feel like it's our time. Right now is our time. What would you give advice to someone who may be considering a career in the tech space?
It's interesting because a lot of people, based on a few, discussions and conversations I've had, a lot of people have said it's a big deal for a woman to be in technology. And I'm like, I don't know if it is. And I don't mean that in a negative way. Mm-hmm. But I feel as if it's made out to be a big deal, because I know of many women who have been in IT way longer than men, but it was just never communicated. It was just never brought out there to say, hey, so-and-so was in this. But you look at it, both male and female go to school. They go and educate themselves in the field that they want to learn more about, right? But it was always seen, and I don't like phrasing man and woman, but it was always seen as a man's job. And we just never emphasize it to show that a woman can do the same thing. And you think about it, back in the caveman days, women were known to be at home to cook, and that's what we were best at. But how is that statement true when you look at a lot of the top chefs today are men? So you look at it, there are so many reversal roles, because it's not that the woman does it. It's because anyone can do it. We just need to have our voices heard and feel confident about it. I mean, I've learned a lot from men who were great leaders and have been amazing mentors, and they can still continue to be to this day. But we're in the next generation of leaders, and we need to be aware that anyone can do a job as long as they can go ahead and face the challenge, learn from the mistakes that we were just talking about, and just never give up. So, I mean, is it a big deal? I don't think it is. Yeah. Just as some people would say, suck it up, buttercup.
Yeah. No, I love that. I love that mentality. I love that attitude. You're right. It really shouldn't be a big deal. And you hit the nail on the head. There's been women in tech for years and years, but we just haven't seen it. We haven't heard them. And so now we're kind of being brought out to the forefront. But you're right. In reality, like, it's not a big deal. We've been doing this and some, right?
Exactly. And everything. Yeah.
Absolutely. Oh, this is great. This is great. So do you have time for one more question?
Sure.
Okay. So this is a good one. We cannot avoid talking about the pandemic. I know it's of course part of our world every single day, but I've seen how some people have taken, what has gone on, and it's forced us right into a new normal. It's forced us into different communication vehicles, how we keep in touch with each other, and so much good has actually come out of it. But if you were writing a book and this pandemic season was one of the chapters in your book, what would you title this chapter in your life? During this pandemic season, what would you title it and why?
Oh boy. 2020, the life of living Groundhog Day. I mean, honestly, it literally felt like the same day every day. And it was wake up, work out, get coffee, feed the dog, feed the kids, walk into the home office, prepare for the first Zoom meeting, and rinse and repeat 270 more times. Literally, when you think about it, 9 months.
Yeah.
It was crazy. It was literally Groundhog Day every day. And I think after a while, you were just like, okay, well, here's the next day. I feel this year is the year, honestly, for us to just go out there and give 2020, let it go, start fresh, and really just start looking at what we learned from 2020. And if it was a mistake for whatever we did, take it, learn it, and move forward. I mean,
yes,
it was crazy. It was a crazy year, honestly.
it was. But it's so interesting, and I know this is amazing. I'm going to take it as confirmation what you just said. Just to let you in on something, I've done away with New Year's resolutions for years. I just got tired of that. One of my mentors had asked me, "Hey, have you ever heard of Just One Word? I think it's justoneword.org, whatever the website is, and it's where you pick a word for the year, and it becomes like your theme." And that resonated with me, and I've actually shifted for the past 8 years. My girlfriends and I, we choose one word, we hold each other accountable, and it's been life changing. And so this year, my word is forward. And the tagline for it is also let it go, right? You can't move forward by always looking backward. And so everything that you just said literally confirmed my words. So I have to throw that in there because it is important that we do, like you said, we got to move forward. What happened in 2020 with the pandemic, the lessons learned, what are we going to do with that? And the simple answer is, okay, let's find ways to keep moving forward. So thank you for that. You weren't planning that. I'll take that personally. Thank you.
Yeah. But you know what? I like that because instead of a resolution, you say, you know what? One word and go with that word for the rest of the you know what? That's going to be something I'm going to take. I really like that.
It's amazing how you embrace it in everything you do. And then if you have an accountability partner, it's even better, right? My girlfriend would be like, hey, girl, you're not, I may be complaining about something and she'll throw it back at me like, well, what does that have to do with what you said you were going to do this year? So
it's amazing. And I think the way that you just said the word forward, it makes me think, you know what? All you can do is think of moving forward. Honestly, there's nothing more you can do, but make it the best that you can, take the negativity out and bring in the positivity.
Yes, absolutely. What a way to end on this note. And we're recording this on the 8th day of 2021. This is January 8th, right?
Yeah.
So I'm wishing you all the best. I know we're going to be in touch, obviously, but wishing you all the best in 2021, continued success, and just wishing you all the best. Thank you so much for your time today.
You too, Akilah. You and your husband have to have a great year this year. Not that it wasn't last year for you guys, but I'm excited for you guys too. So thank you so much.
Thank you so much. I appreciate it.